Another day, another story. A 4-year-old Israeli-American girl who was kidnapped by Hamas during its 7 October attack in southern Israel was among the 17 hostages released by the group on Sunday. Abigail Edan was just 3 at the time she was taken hostage from her home, where her parents were attacked and killed by Hamas gunmen. She turned 4 while she was held hostage by Hamas. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Abigail's family said, "We hoped and prayed today would come. There are no words to express our relief and gratitude that Abigail is safe and coming home," said Liz Hirsch Naftali, Abigail's great-aunt, and Noah Naftali, her cousin, in a statement. They also thanked US President Joe Biden, the Qatari government, and others who were involved in securing Abigail's release and called for the remaining hostages to be released. "We have to keep pushing. We will continue to stand with the families of all the hostages still held captive, and we remain committed as ever to securing their safe and swift return." Earlier, President Biden said Abigail had been through a terrible trauma, adding what she endured is unthinkable. Speaking to reporters, he said those around Abigail will be surrounding her with love and care. "Today she's free, and Jilly, First Lady of the US Jill Biden, and I, together with so many Americans, are praying for the fact that she is going to be all right," he said. President Biden said Sunday's hostage releases were the result of intensive US diplomacy, adding he was hopeful that more American hostages will be released in the coming days. "We continue to press and expect that additional Americans will be released as well," he said, adding we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones. 14 of the 17 hostages were Israeli and 3 of them were Thai nationals. 9 of the Israelis were children. Abigail was with her family in the Kfar Aza kibbutz on the 7th of October. Her parents were killed during the attack, while her 2 siblings hid and were later rescued. Her mother's cousin told Sky News that Abigail's father had been holding her when he was shot. She survived and walked to the home of her neighbors, the Brodach family, but was later abducted along with the family by Hamas. Some members of the Brodach family were among the hostages released on Sunday, including 4-year-old Oria, his 8-year-old brother Yuval, and their 10-year-old sister Ofri. Their mother, 40-year-old Hagar Brodach, was also released. Hagar's father-in-law, Shemuel Brodach, told Israel's Channel 13 News, "The moment I heard they were in the hands of the Red Cross, I was relieved." He added, "I hope I can invest the same effort until the last captive returns. I am very happy, but I feel a great commitment to the other families until the last captive returns, including IDF soldiers." President Joe Biden welcomed Abigail's release, saying in a speech from Nantucket, Massachusetts, that she is receiving love, care and the supportive services she needs, and adding that he was hopeful this is not the end of the temporary truce. Biden said the girl has been through a terrible trauma. Her mother was killed in front of her, the president said. She then ran to her father, Biden said, who used his body to shield his daughter and was killed. "What she endured was unthinkable," he said. Biden added that Abigail was now in Israel but said that he did not have details on her condition. Abigail was taken to Schneider Children's Medical Center, where the other child hostages have been transferred, a spokesperson with the Hostage and Missing Families Forum told CNN. Biden spoke with Abigail's family Sunday afternoon, the White House said. Abigail's great-aunt and cousin thanked Biden, the Qatari government, and other informal actors involved in releasing hostages held by Hamas in a joint statement Sunday. "We hoped and prayed today would come. There are no words to express our relief and gratitude that Abigail is safe and coming home," Liz Hirsch Naftali and Noah Naftali said in the statement. "We will continue to stand with the families of all the hostages still held captive, and we remain committed as ever to securing their safe and swift return," they added. Following the release of Abigail Edan by Hamas, President Biden spoke by phone with members of Abigail's family in the United States and Israel, the White House said in a statement. Biden also spoke with Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later Sunday, the White House said. The 2 leaders discussed the latest developments in Israel and Gaza and the recent release of hostages, including Abigail Edan, by Hamas. U.S. officials believed that Abigail was being held in the northern part of Gaza along with her neighbors, and throughout the negotiations pushed for Abigail, along with 2 other American women, to be included on an early list of hostages to be released, a senior administration official said. On Sunday, the U.S. was able to track the girls' movements through Gaza to the hands of Red Cross officials and into Israel. Biden spoke with his senior advisors throughout the process, but there was no sigh of relief until she crossed the border and was safely in Israel, the official said. 2 American women who are unaccounted for are also expected to be part of the group of 50 women and children hostages released as part of a 4-day truce, now in its 3rd day. No Americans were released as part of the deal on Friday or Saturday. There are 10 Americans who are unaccounted for at this time. 24 hostages, including 13 Israeli civilians and 11 foreign nationals, were freed on Friday, followed by 17 more, 13 Israelis and 4 Thai nationals, on Saturday as part of the brokered deal between Hamas and Israel. All 41 foreign nationals released by Hamas from captivity in Gaza are stable, according to medical professionals. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told CNN's Dana Bash that it is difficult to know the true status of the Americans who were taken captive in Gaza during Hamas' brutal cross-border assault on October 7. We cannot say for certain whether all 3 of them are still alive. But we do know this: we have reason to believe that today, 1 American will be released, he said earlier Sunday on State of the Union. Omer Nutra, a dual U.S.-Israeli citizen, is among the Israel Defense Forces soldiers kidnapped by Hamas, his parents have told CNN. Sullivan said he has been candid with Nutra's parents and the parents of other American hostages. I told them directly that we do not know the specific whereabouts or condition of Omer or other Americans because until the end of this deal, until the end of tomorrow, we will not have, from the Red Cross, proof of life or other information, Sullivan said. Sullivan also spoke about Hamas agreeing to allow the Red Cross to visit the remaining hostages in Gaza and said the U.S. is leaning on Qatari and Egyptian officials to ensure that happens by the end of Monday. We do believe that Hamas has obliged to maintain its part of the commitment on Red Cross visitation of the hostages, and we expect Qatar and Egypt and other countries to hold Hamas accountable to hold that commitment by the end of tomorrow, Sullivan said. Sullivan said Israel is prepared to extend the pause in fighting in exchange for Hamas releasing 10 hostages each day, adding, "The ball is really in Hamas' court. If Hamas wants to see an extension of the pause in fighting, it can continue to release hostages," Sullivan said. If it chooses not to release hostages, then the end of the pause is its responsibility, not Israel's, because it is holding these hostages completely illegitimately and against all bounds of human decency or the laws of war. Israeli President Isaac Herzog said in an interview with CNN's Wolf Blitzer on Sunday that it was up to Hamas to free more hostages to extend the pause. It was agreed in the original agreement, which has been violated constantly by Hamas but still implemented piecemeal, that if they bring another 10 prisoners or so, there will be an extension of another day of humanitarian pause, Herzog said. Hamas said in a statement Sunday evening that it wants to extend the truce after the 4-day period ends, through serious efforts to increase the number of those released from imprisonment as stipulated in the humanitarian ceasefire agreement. Israel's war cabinet also discussed the possibility of extending the temporary truce with Hamas when it met Sunday evening, an Israeli source told CNN. While Israeli officials work to care for the released hostages and reunite them with their families, Sullivan said, they will also look to glean any information about Hamas in hostage debriefings on their time in captivity. Israel is focused on learning anything it can about whereabouts, locations and other information based on conversations they have with the released hostages in the days ahead, he said. The other released hostages include Chen Olmog Goldstein, 48, and her children Tal, 8, Gal, 11, and Agom, 17, who were abducted from their homes in Kfar Aza on the day of the attack. Chen's husband, Nadav, and their 20-year-old daughter, Yam, were killed by Hamas. Also released were sisters Dofna and Ella Eliakim, aged 15 and 8 respectively. They were taken from their home in kibbutz near Oz on the day of the attack, and were part of a family group whose capture was live-streamed by the attackers themselves. Their mother, Mayan Zin, said in a statement that she was happy her daughters had returned, adding that it was a joy mixed with sadness. "Joy for my daughters who are here and sadness for those who have not yet returned. My heart will not be whole again until everyone returns home safely." She said that since the girls were kidnapped, she had been living between despair and hope, between pain and optimism. "The girls are returning to a new and complex situation, and now we have a period of recovery that will take time," she said. The other hostages released were 25-year-old Ronnie Krivoy, a dual Israeli-Russian national, working as a sound engineer at the Supernova Music Festival, 62-year-old Adrienne Aviva Siegel, who was taken from her home in Kfar Aza along with her 64-year-old husband Keith. IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari confirmed that 84-year-old Elma Avraham was airlifted to Soroka Hospital in Beersheba in a serious condition. Israel's prison service meanwhile has confirmed the release of 39 Palestinian prisoners as part of the 4-day truce between Hamas and Israel. Hamas attack on the 7th of October killed 1,200 people, and about 240 were taken hostage. Since then, Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says more than 14,500 people have been killed in Israel's retaliatory campaign in the territory. Sunday marks the third day of a 4-day pause in fighting in Gaza, during which some of those being held hostage by Hamas are being freed in return for the release of Palestinian prisoners. The total number of hostages released during the window now stands at 54, and the number of prisoners freed is 117. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.